morning, it's me, Mikey Pipes, and we're at Ferguson in Bayport for a live fire of this steam system. It's gonna be epic. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Do it now. No drop header, huh?
No drop header on this one. I don't even think, you know what, we don't even talk about a drop header in this presentation. Set up. Electric.
I'll get out of your way.
No, you but right now, yeah, the feeder just kicked on. Talking about feed pumps, kind of say pumps when we get in there, but we're not gonna fire it up yet. We're just getting ready, taking the top off. We're gonna go back in and finish the presentation. About 10:30. Fire it up. Cool. I'm gonna fire it up just to get it warm again. It's actually still on. I fired this up at like 6 o'clock last night. Make sure it was working, made steam, and everything is still warm. Good access. Did they give you access? What's that? Yeah, actually. Basically, yeah, got it. I mean, Jerry will give me the code for the terminal. Yeah, got the ability, got the break room, got the break room. I couldn't figure out. I've never used a speaker like that, so you have to pull it out. I'm like, oh, what's going on? I get it on, my power W's on.
Conrad, worth the drive out here?
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
Now you have to go, what to take them out.
Change your code, today. All right, give me a job.
Yeah.
Really? Back in.
No, don't shut it down. It's the valve on top.
That's not a pressure relief.
It doesn't have a 15 psi relief valve. Yeah, he's missing a relief valve. the two are redundant pressure trolls.
The glass pipe makers?
Have I ever?
Yeah.
No. Have you? It's fun, huh?
Right now we replace all of them with plastic. It's not expensive as hell. You can give it some glass, but
You can't put plastic on steam, though.
I know. But we use it for
Well, I've seen people put PEX on steam. Just waiting for this bad boy to fire up. Oh, we're starting to see a little bit. Yeah? Oh, look at that. Water line. Oh, that's pretty cool. Got 1 PSI almost. Ah, there you go. And we're gonna grab the thermal camera and see what this thing looks like.
It's actually not. It's not a pound of steam pressure at this point. I don't think it's just expansion because I have everything closed. There's no expansion tank on a steam boiler, obviously. So it's just the water heating up. The water's expanding. The water's heating up and expanding.
Daniel has the HIK Micro, the B20 thermal imaging camera. Thank you, HIK Micro, for being a sponsor of the channel. Really appreciate it. What?
Facebook Live or future work?
I'm a YouTuber. But you're not gonna see a recent one. You're not gonna see a recent live fire with the Weil McLain. How many? You guys just have one of these in the Northeast? No, whatever. It's fun. You have one. How many models does you have? Live fire glass.
Oh, so I'll tell you a little bit about it as we stand here. I just want to let it warm up a little bit, then we're going to go back inside. This is a model 76 boiler that's been the same boiler, the same trailer since 1980 something.
Wow.
This boiler, we don't use it every day all the time, but it's been going since sometime in the 1980s. Our what we call our Mid-Atlantic office, they kind of cover the Philadelphia market and surrounding areas. It's South Jersey, based South Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware, Baltimore, all that kind of stuff. But the office is down in South Jersey, Mount Laurel. They kind of made it, put it together, built it, so to speak, way back then. So if you don't know Weil McLain models, it's like our lighter commercial boiler. What was the 76? Then it became the 78. Then it became the 80. So we still have the 80 until January. And because of the new DOE efficiency rating, we're discontinuing the 80 series. We'll still have the 88, which is the bigger version. But yeah, so this is kind of the precursor to the current 80 series. It's a 5-section, I'm firing about 2.5 gallons of oil, which equates to about 300,000-ish BTUs input. Running on diesel fuel because it's just easier to get. So diesel fuel is not much different than number 2 wheel. A little bit more refined, a little less sulfur maybe.
More expensive.
More expensive. Well, maybe, yeah, I guess. Yeah, both, yeah. I would say both are really expensive right now.
Especially these days.
So
Yep.
more expensive than diesel. But yeah, easy to just stop at a gas station and fill up the tank. So yeah, that's my
Love the shirts. Let's go, Bosch.
receiving tank. We'll talk about that when we get inside. We've got the boiler, receiving, constant receiving tank, feed pump, controls, the low water cover. Yeah, boiler inside.
Relief valve?
Yeah, we got a relief valve on the back.
Oh, we do? Oh yeah, there it is. 15 psi.
15 psi. The capacity is 450 pounds per hour. So we just shut off our pressure, but if you hadn't heard what I said a couple minutes ago, we probably haven't even made steam yet. We just expanded the water. So we warmed up the water, we expanded it, and we shut off on 5 pounds of pressure. Did you see any boiling going on in there in the window?
Very barely.
Any boiling?
Very barely.
Very barely. Just a bubble here, a bubble there. All right, let's go back inside. We'll talk about it, and then I promise you we're gonna come back very soon.
He's teasing us up.
It's a cock tease.
Right now, but you don't see it because it's a clear gas. But when it hits the air, it immediately condenses, and that's when you see steam. Remember when I talked about pressure versus boiling point? As soon as I left the pressure off, if you were looking in the front window, you would see it's immediately boiling. Even though the burner's not firing, the water's going to boil when I drop the pressure, I think.
Oh yeah. Do that again.
Well, there's the pressure. No
Oh,
more
God.
pressure.
Damn.
But you see, as I open it, the water started coming up out of the
Wow.
boiler, right? All right, come on, let's go back in. Early when I was just warming it up, maybe some of you didn't. So this is 76 model boiler, which we haven't made in probably 30 years or more. This has been on the road since like 1980 something. Our office down in South Jersey built it. The 76 model became the 78 model. 78 model was discontinued around 2000-ish, 2005 maybe. I started Weil McLain in 2006, and we were already into the 80 series. So yeah, from 2000, 2001, we went to the 80 series. That's what we've been making ever since. New regulations as of next January. We couldn't hit the efficiency ratings, the raised bar, so to speak. So we're going to discontinue the 80 series, at least for now. And then the 88 series is the bigger brother, or bigger size boiler. Anyway, that's the history of this boiler. It's been around, it's been running down the road. I run down the road just like that. I talked it yesterday because it was pouring rain. I didn't talk the pipe, I just talked the boiler. But if I talk the whole thing, the top just gets ripped up in the first 20 miles from the wind and whatnot. So yeah, I run down the road like that. You get weird looks, but never had a rock hit it or break it. Pyrex, you want to use Pyrex glass. I think back then when they built it, one elbow was like $600 or something like that.
Damn.
But yeah, Pyrex glass, high temp, stuff like that. So what else you got? So if you hadn't seen in the front, we actually cut a window into the front section so you can actually see the water level. You see what's going on inside the boiler. You've got your normal gauge glass that tells you your water level, and you'll be surprised when you start seeing that water boiling inside and bouncing and surging. You see very little movement in the gauge glass. Sometimes you will on a gauge glass. You'll see that if you got a lot of surging, you'll see that gauge glass bouncing up and down. But you hardly see that one budge, even though it's like very violent inside the boiler. That's kind of something to look at it when I fire it up. We've got 2 low water cutoffs. This is, a commercial boiler, so you always want to have your low water cutoff / pump controller, right? So I'm also controlling the feed pump on the reservoir, so I only get water when I need it. But then I have my backup low water cutoff, which is typically manual reset, which I don't think this one is, but you would typically have a manual reset backup. So if this fails for some reason and the water keeps dropping, now I get to, you see the water lines on the low water cutoff, one's slightly higher than the backup. So if this one fails and doesn't shut the boiler down and the water keeps dropping, hopefully this one doesn't fail, and I'm going to go into a manual lockout and somebody's going to have to figure out why, come there and reset it and figure out what happened. So yeah, redundancy, most boilers, like I said, New York City and commercial world are going to require 2 low water cutoffs. Typically at least one of them would be a manual reset. What else can I tell you about it? Yeah, I could have done that. But I have check valve. I got a shut-off valve, which I'm actually going to crank down because of that. When it feeds, when it's really hot and steaming, it feeds. That because my firewall is fell down, we're getting some water hammer pretty violently. So I'm going to let it feed really slow. I'm cranking that down. What else? These folks are going to get steam clean when we do it. So we'll give them a nice washing over here. We fire it up, so without further ado, do that. It's warm, we warmed it up before, but it might take a few minutes to get back up to steaming. Skim tapping / relief valve. I've got, on the back here, that's where I do my skimming. Right, I've got a full-size nipple. What is that, 1.5 inches, 2 inches? 2 inch?
1.5 inches.
That is 1.5 inches? Optical illusion? Okay,
1.5 inches.
1.5 inches. So yeah, we just want to, it's hard to regulate when you take an elbow down, but if I was actually skimming it, I wouldn't have, I would try not to have an elbow here. I try to be able to see that water coming out halfway. I just do it for the trail so I can dump it on the ground. Drain water or release it. But I have my relief valve here, 15 psi. Proper capacity, right? Relief valves don't just have pressure, but they have capacity sizes. So this boiler is firing about 300,000 BTUs, about 2.5 gallons of oil. So this relief valve is rated at 450 pounds per hour, which, again, BTUs are based on pounds, so 450 pounds is 450 pounds is 450,000 capacity. Again, if you missed it when I was talking earlier about it, right now it's starting to make steam, but you don't see it until it hits the cooler air and it condenses back to a liquid or a vapor, right? You see a little bit of steam coming out the pipe. I'm starting to have steam in here, but it's clear, clear steam, dry steam. You can even see, look real closely, you're starting to see some condensate coming back into the equalizer. The water trickling back down, so you don't see the steam. Now you see a little bit trickling back down through the risers. So I'm making steam right now. You can see the front of it, bubble.
Yeah, it's boiling.
It's boiling. I'll walk around and look at the front. That's actually pretty clean. We sometimes will put a couple of drops of vegetable oil in there just to simulate a dirty boiler. I guess maybe they did the last person that used it, so it does look like it's got some crap floating around in the boiler. Now we're in full steaming mode. Pretty violent in there, as I said. If you look at the gauge glass, it bounced a little bit, but it's pretty steady. You can see see the pipes, right? It's clear as can be. You're not seeing anything. It's dry steam. As it continues, you're probably going to start seeing it come out of the boiler. It's going to start bubbling up. And again, that's
what we
why
want to see.
24 inches. You're going to start seeing it bubble out of the risers and get up in there, trying to get up into the header. And again, it might even get into the header because I'm trying to simulate, a building with a 2-inch piece of pipe and a pull down there. So it's kind of hard to do that.
Imagine duplicating this. It's too expensive.
Might also be it's on the low range of before it's going to feed. What's that? Well, unless somebody chauffeurs over.
Yeah.
He wants me.
We're still the trailer.
They don't quite work.
Oh, yeah. How is it with the?
You can't drive. I'll be here. I think Tom's gonna come.
Nice. I don't know if that's the exhaust or the steam.
Well, that's a steam. Piping.
I gotta get back
Move
there.
to the left.
I got email.
No, the camera to the left. It's pretty cool. Thank you, HIK Micro, for being a sponsor to the channel. You can check this out. Check it out on Amazon. Links in the description box down below. Oh, look at that. Wow. Here we go. That's awesome, by the way.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So now you see it, right? It's getting up in there. But you see how the water, most of it is falling back down by gravity. The weight of the water is just making it fall back. But again, because I don't have any restriction, I don't have any resistance on my piping, it's getting up into the header. Maybe my level's off a little bit because you do see some water trying to, go back the opposite way. But it should be going all in one direction, going from the header into the equalizer and take it off. So again, but you see up here, dry steam still, right? I'm pretty sloppy right now in my header. I'm getting a lot of water. And remember, if you get water in the header, you're reducing the size. So I don't know if this is 4-inch pipe probably. Now I'm 3-inch pipe because I got 1 inch of water in my header. I just reduced it. So now I'm going to get more turbulent, more velocity. But I'm still pretty dry going up here. I got a little bit, you see a little bit of condensate getting up in there. But I'm still pretty dry. Now, I can try to simulate a building by closing the ball valve down a little bit. That's going to calm it right down. A little bit of back pressure to reach the boiling point.
And you reduce the
boiler down.
water jumping out.
Try to regulate it so that's like your perfect normal boiler, right? You get a little bit of bounce out of it, but whatever's coming out, the gravity is pulling it right back into the boiler. It's a little dry up here. That's how you want the boiler steam system to be operated.
HIK Micro joining in. Thank you.
You got any pressure on the gauge? Is that around 0?
It's almost 0. Still less than half.
Again, right now I just closed it. You don't have a lot of pressure because again, we're going to start building pressure, but we're still full of steam. This is full steam. It's clear, clear gas.
Wow.
Just like my backup on my low water cutoffs, I also have backup on a commercial boiler. You typically have backup on the pressure control. The first one is like your operating control, so that's just going to turn the boiler on and off on pressure. But if that fails, I set the backup pressure control a little bit higher. So I should have, I think I have the operating control set at 5 pounds just to show you.
Yep, pressure.
Right? The button, so I think maybe I have the other one set at 7 psi. And that's why I left my screwdriver in there.
carry a Leatherman? Come on.
Huh? You got one? Can you pop one of these off? Oh, so no. Well, yeah, I already answered my question, right? So the cut in.
We could turn the screw
So
on
what
top.
what I want to see what it says inside. It says like the cut out equals the cut in plus the differential. There are negative differentials that subtract or subtractive differentials. Thank you. Good. That should be enough. All right. So where does it say that?
Don't leave home without
Cut
it.
out equals cut in plus differential. So you got a little dial in there. I've got it set at 1 psi. And these things are not very accurate at all. On a commercial job, you might have, they call, what do they call them?
Vapor stats.
Controls? Vapor stats?
Vapor
Controls? Vapor stats. So, like measured in ounces of pressure instead of pounds of pressure, right? We talked about ounces, and that's sometimes all you need is ounces. These are in pounds, and they're not very accurate. So I have this actually set on 2-ish, 2.5 maybe, with a 1 differential. So I should be shutting off at 3.5, but it's shutting off at 5. So you see they're not very accurate. This one I got jacked up to about maybe 6-ish. 6 pounds of pressure maybe, 5 or 6.
Right there.
As a backup.
8 almost.
Yeah, I'm not sure which line corresponds with which number, but you have a 9, then you got a number right below 9, then you got the 8, then you got, so they're not very accurate or representative, let's say. Anyway, we're off on 5 pounds of pressure. So again, pressure is not your answer. When you have a lot of pressure, you're going to see what 5 pounds of pressure will do to you when I open this valve. Now, on a commercial building, you might have zone valves. They might open and close. You want slow opening zone valves, typically, not fast opening zone valves. But I'm going to do it a little slow and then fast, and you'll see what happens. Right? Is it? I'm not boiling right now,
Nope.
right? But I'm at steam. You see, as soon as I open this and the pressure drops, the burner is off. I'm not putting any more BTUs in there right now. I'm still absorbing some of it through the cast iron, but you're going to see that water start boiling immediately when I take the pressure off it.
Wow.
That's what you don't want to do in your steam system, right? That kind of say it in your mains and your radiators.
Yeah, that's sick, by the way. That's what we all came here for, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. There's not going to be any water left. You're not going to have any water
I'm
left.
going to feed, and like I said, now,
Is that the low water cutoff just went out?
Starts knocking. The burner's off right now, so hopefully it doesn't knock too badly when it starts feeding. Once it settles down, then it's going to probably realize that it's
Out of
low
water.
on water. And now the feed
The
valve
pump
running,
is,
the
yeah.
pump's running, feeding water now back into the boiler. Again, I shouldn't lose all that water in my system, but I did because I don't have a system. So now my feed pump is kicking on. I'm bringing the water level back in, and sometimes we get some bang. So it's behaving itself today.
And that's the water level of the tank.
Yeah, so I have a water gauge on the tank itself, so I can see my water level on the tank, and I also, of course, have my water level on the boiler itself. Every commercial manual, again, residential, we're going to tell you what low water cutoff to use. You're either going to use a probe or you're going to use a float. So we're going to tell you which tappings to use if you're using a number 67 McDonald Miller or you're using a McDonald Miller or a Safeguard probe type. We're going to tell you which tapping, and we put those tappings in the right spot. On a commercial boiler, you're building it up on what they call a tree, and we're going to give you those dimensions in the manual where this water line should be in relation to the low water cutoff line, mark where they should be in relation to our specified water line, or we might reference it off the bottom of the glass gauge, if that number, that whatever it is, 2.5 inches or 2 5/8, or whatever that number that we give you. You're going to reference it either off the bottom of the gauge glass or the bottom or the normal water line, which I'm going to measure from the base, not the floor. If it's up on the 4-inch blocks or whatever, it's whatever the boiler is sitting on. You're measuring from the base of the boiler up to your what we give you as the normal water line. Did it come back on yet? Oh, you got that valve cocked, that's why it's not on. velocity in your pipe, or you have to have proper pipe sizing in a water system, you got to get the air out of the top of the building and get it back down to the boiler to get out the air vent or your air separator. You need enough velocity to pull air bubbles downward in a vertical pipe. Otherwise the bubbles, if you're too slow, not gallons per minute, but speed of the water, you have to have enough speed to pull the air down and not let it just bubble back up. That's why you can't purge your boiler with a 5-gallon pail, shut it, dump it, shut it, open it, because the bubbles are just going to bubble right back up to the top. So if you look at the glass back here, you'll see the bubbles, they're just kind of like in equilibrium. They're just kind of hanging out in the pipe there. They're not getting pulled up. If I open that valve, you'll see them get pulled down now because I got more velocity. Now I'm pulling the bubbles down. Well, now it's going to do its own thing because it's starting to come back up. But very briefly there, you saw that the flow was going in. Now it's shut off. The pump shut off. But if I had the pump full open, it's pulling the bubbles down into the boiler. If I have it cocked, the bubbles just kind of hanging out there in equilibrium. We'll do it again. We'll let it boil off again and fire it off again. But good question. Come around closer to the closer look. Anybody that has it, feel free.
I know, look at that. That's crazy. You know what's crazy? To drive back to where we came from. So right now we are steaming, and it's all dry steam. Look at that. There's nothing in the piping. See a little bit of condensate coming back, but look at the discharge. That is your dry steam. See, we're violently exploding inside the EM chamber. And there's nothing in the piping right now. It's just dry steam that's being discharged out of that top piece right there. All right.
Whoever said that about, I'm gonna leave it open for now just to see, as it's not, it's still absorbing energy, right? The burner's been running, but it's still absorbing that energy. It's getting up there. The water's becoming supercharged with steam bubbles. So now it's gonna start pulling water up out of the boiler. If I don't control it with my building, my vent valves and whatnot, my air vents, if I just have free reign, let it go free, it's going to get a little crazy. Oh yeah, we're gonna let it out. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you don't have water getting up into the header. It's still going out fairly dry. A little bit of water trickling out the elbow. Get your system running like that, that's the perfect system, right?
Yeah.
Perfectly dry steam coming out of the boiler. pressure. Don't need it, don't do it, don't jack it up.
Damn. There goes the fill. Feed pump.
It's really cool looking, but it's not what you want.
All right, we got the HIK Micro, the B20 thermal imaging camera. Thank you, HIK Micro, for being a sponsor of the channel. And we have the Weil McLain live fire with the glass steam boiler header piping. Take a look with the HIK Micro. Pretty sick. Let me see if I can get both in view. Nah, but you can see what I'm talking about. Look at that. That is pretty sick. Pretty sick. Look at that. Thank you, HIK Micro, for sponsoring our YouTube channel. So I just want to thank the gentleman from Weil McLain for putting together this training session today. Really, really appreciate it. You know, I love to learn something new every single day. And the only bad part about today was to schlep the hour and 15 minutes to get to Bayport from my house. And it was like rough. It was a rough ride. But I ended up being at my first service call, which was an estimate, in New High Park at around 12:30. So it really wasn't that bad. And I got to, you know, hang out with Conrad. We all got to learn together. It's really, really nice. So guys, if you enjoy this kind of content, let me get your feedback down in the comment section down below, right? What can I do to improve the viewing experience? Tell me. You know what? I like to learn something new every day, and I think that as a community, we can really, really go places together, right? And I also ask, if you like and enjoy these kinds of videos, right? Take a moment to like and subscribe to the video and to the channel, right? You know, it really helps me to continue building the channel. And if you watched a few of my videos, you might not even have known that you haven't even subscribed. So while you're down there hitting that subscribe button, while you're there, don't forget to hit that notification bell, right? In order to stay up to date with new releases, which I try to do on a daily basis. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. It was incredible. I've never seen this in person. I've seen other videos on this on YouTube, but I've never really seen it in person. And I think Daniel had a great time. None of us actually saw it in person, even the other Mike. And Conrad actually drove up from Lexington, South Carolina, for the day to see this as well. So awesome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Until next time, be well, God bless, stay safe.